We are recording right now. Thanks for making this happen on such short notice. First of all,
No problem.
Your name and how you spell it.
Kevin, Kevin O'Hanlon, O''Hanlon.
And the name of your firm.
O'Hanlon, Demarath, and Castillo.
Castillo. How long has this been around? Been around?
The firm's been around 25 years.
25 years, and you operate out of Austin. Is that right?
Austin, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and the Rio Grande Valley.
Tell me who you're representing.
In the case that was done today, we represent FAR San Juan Alamo, Edinburgh, Hidalgo ISD, Edcouch Elsa ISD, Brownsville ISD, Crowley ISD outside of Fort Worth, La Sarra ISD, and La Jolla ISD.
Okay, so the only one I recognize here in, because we're North Texas, is Crowley.
Yes.
Is that the only one in North Texas that you know of?
That's the only one in North Texas at the moment.
Okay. Do you anticipate more?
We anticipate that there will be a number of districts join this lawsuit between now and the time where we're going to have the temporary injunction hearing, which we believe to be Monday, the 23rd of August.
Okay. What is it you're arguing?
What we're arguing is that the governor, who has many powers under the Disaster Act, does not have the power, in our case, to regulate the operations that occur, what goes on inside a school building. That the management and control of school buildings, just like the security access issues or dress codes or health measures that are more traditional than this mask thing, fall within the parameters and the prerogatives of the local school board. In other words, we're arguing for local control rather than statewide control with respect to running the matters of the district.
The majority of your districts are in Travis, in the Austin area, Travis County area?
No, the majority are in South Texas.
South Texas.
Yes, and what the original plaintiffs were, this is complicated because there's been a number of lawsuits. Some of which have been filed by counties. Dallas County is involved in a lawsuit. Harris County is involved in a lawsuit. They were in court today along with us. Bexar County is involved in a lawsuit. Those are either the county or the county health authority that were exercising their power under the Disaster Act.
Okay. And
that kind of bumps up against the power of the governor because they have some overlapping authority with respect to disasters, depending, I suppose, on how generalized they are or how localized they are.
So if you can set the stage for me. So it sounds like you have several firms here represented all in one courtroom, representing multiple districts around the state.
Right. Well, today we had, we were the only ones that were representing school districts. There's another one. There's the Harris County Attorney's Office was involved representing Harris County.
Oh, okay.
And then we had some parent interveners that were involved, and we had the Attorney General's office involved. So those were the lawyers. Okay. What distinguishes our original group of school districts these were all our clients today were all from counties in which there were not, at the time we filed the lawsuit, which was last night, there weren't any orders. There weren't any county orders to give guidance with respect to mask wearing or not. So they sought their own because they didn't have county guidance.
Okay. If you can What, tell me this, what does this come down to, you think? Well, first of all, before we get into that even, what was the decision by the judge and who was that judge or a court number?
The judge was, well, the court number is a different court because it's filed. Travis has a rotating docket system. It was Jan Soifer, Soifer.
Okay.
Judge Jan Soifer, and she's been on the bench a pretty good little while down here.
And her ruling was?
Her ruling was that we had shown enough probability of success on the merits and irreparable injury to justify a temporary restraining order against the governor's enforcement of the no mask. It's not really a no mask mandate, it's a mask optional mandate. So that the judge suspended that and allowed the districts to impose mask mandates on their kids coming back from school, which in our case, school starts next week. Okay.
Sorry, Kevin, let me just send out this quick little text. Everybody's, we call it the Friday evening news dump. Everything just pops up at the last second here.
I do understand.
Speak to, so the injunction was granted.
Yes.
Right. And so when will you now discuss the merits of this case? When is this injunction end?
The hearing will be on a temporary injunction, which is the next step under Texas law. And a temporary injunction is to determine the status of the case pending the final trial on the merits. But that's set for the 23rd at 9 o'clock. That's going to be the 23rd at 9.
Okay. So the judge did rule that these 8 districts that you represent can enforce masks at their schools.
Yes, and there were parents from 3 other school districts in Travis County that had not imposed them. That they ignored the county order in Travis County to mandate masks, and they said they could enforce mask mandates in those districts. The county mandate in that case.
I got you. Okay. I know a lot of this comes down to, I mean, we've heard the word control a lot, right? We've got, does the governor set a minimum standard of law or a maximum standard? What is your contention?
Well, in the first place, if you think about what's really going on here, you have a disaster act to deal with disasters, and the governmental authority can give orders necessary to mitigate the disaster. In this case, that's not what Abbott's doing. Abbott's using his disaster authority to essentially prohibit anybody from responding to the disaster. He's saying that despite the fact that COVID cases are going through the roof, despite the fact that kid hospitalizations are going up, despite the fact that in public schools that we've got, we know this setting aside whether or not you should get vaccinated or not, we know that for all our elementary kids, they can't get vaccinated because they're 12 and under and they're not eligible. So we have this big unvaccinated community, and that the CDC says masks work. Even the governor's office says we should encourage mask wearing because it's effective. That's what they said. And then they said, but you can't do it. But you can't protect your kids.
You see this as an abuse of power and overreach by the government?
We do. We think the governor is playing to a political audience rather than a public health, managing a public health issue.
I want you to say that. I want you to say that last bit
Yes.
right for me again.
We think that the governor is playing to a political audience and a political constituency rather than directly addressing a public health crisis.
Do you feel like the governor can enforce a minimum standard as opposed to what it feels like almost a maximum standard right now?
But I think the governor can and did impose a mandate last year, a mask mandate last year when COVID cases were spiking, which incidentally, if you look at the curve and the level of contagion that's in the public, at the time he imposed it last year, in the spring of 2020, and you compare it to what that level of contagion and spread in the community is now, it's actually worse now than it was when he imposed the mask mandate last time. So yeah, we think that he can do that. But I don't think he can prohibit somebody from being more health conscious. That's turning that on its head. Now we recognize there are some communities in the state, although not many now, because the Delta variant is what it is, that may not need a mask mandate because the level of contagion is low enough in the background to minimize risk. But with respect to where we are right now, we're doing a number of things that are going to exacerbate the crisis. And they're all coming together in one kind of witch's brew of problems. First off, we had virtual schools last year, and TEA encouraged that. And because of that, we had student populations that were 25 to 40% of the building census. All right. When you have that's it, and all those kids were coming to school wearing masks because the governor had a mask mandate. So we had the 40% occupancy or less. We had social distancing because we had all these buildings to spread out in, and we didn't have the Delta variant, and we had masks, okay? Now we're starting school. We have Delta variant, the Delta kind of ripping through the state population. Hospitalizations going up, and Delta seems to be considerably more contagious to kids because the transmission rate's higher. We have not as much social distancing because the state of Texas has abolished the remote option, trying to force everybody to come to school. So we've got less social distancing, a worse condition with respect to the virus, and no masks. So you're creating all of the elements necessary to have a disaster. Okay, and our school people are saying, we don't need to do that. And besides, the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatricians are saying, absolutely, in the K-12 environment, you wear a mask.
Has the governor? I know in Dallas County case, in Dallas ISD case, the governor has challenged it to the Fifth Court of Appeals.
Yes.
Has the governor challenged you?
Not yet. I suspect they probably will. So this is what happened. This is a little. It's taken a little longer to get off the dime, if you will. We had multiple lawyers involved, so we're circulating drafts of the injunction order even as we speak. I just saw one come across the screen. The judge gave us until 10 o'clock tomorrow to sign, to where she's going to sign them. She told the lawyers what they wanted, and then said, you guys work out the language, which is kind of normal. The AG's office, they're professionals. This shouldn't be a problem. It's just but you got lawyers are lawyers, and they have to go through different drafts.
Sure.
They're going to sign it tomorrow. The judge is going to sign it tomorrow. So if they're going to do an appeal or do some extraordinary relief, it couldn't happen until Monday anyway.
You anticipate this to be signed by tomorrow or likely Sunday, and you anticipate your school districts, all 8 of them, to be able to enforce this come Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
To enforce the no mask mandate. Now, there's some other folks that
Wait, let me clarify.
I mean the mask.
Enforce the mask mandate.
Yes, enforce their mask mandate.
So and not that we just care about Crowley ISD. Crowley ISD is the only North Texas school district you are representing, correct?
Yes, that's correct. There was another one in Fort Worth this afternoon.
Okay.
That went the other way.
Right. Now, barring any changes, Crowley ISD should be able to mandate masks, meaning require masks for its students and staff by Monday. Your hope?
I think they already have.
Okay. And I have not checked in with that school district. Any last words, Kevin? Any last words?
But the kind of a general kind of wish that we took politics out of this and we start looking at the health issues. We need to look at the health of the kids and do what is best for them. And I think that forget the politics and which side of the aisle you're on and all this other stuff. The medical evidence is absolutely clear that this stuff's contagious, that masks help reduce the level of contagion. There's no panacea or perfect remedy. Everybody wants to get back to regular school. If we have contagion breaking out in the schools, then we're going to have kids coming and going and get quarantined and back and forth, and we're going to have another disaster year.
Question: can other districts, now that they've seen the success you've had on this case, on this TRO, can other districts now join into that or no?
Yes, I've already had a number of phone calls where we're going to have a bunch of other people writing final documents in Austin.
Riding the coattails of your initial client.
What is it that success has lots of friends, and if we'd have lost, they all said they don't know us.
I got you.
So
Kevin, I'm going to stop recording.